City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, January 7th. Would you please rise, observe a moment of silence, and do the Pledge of Allegiance? And during the moment of silence, I ask all of you to please remember Joe McCord. Joe McCord out of Ventana Lakes. It was the educational liaison to the city, and he's done a lot for us. He died recently, and he's going to be sorely missed.
God bless you.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Barrett.
Here.
Vice Mayor Rivero.
Here.
Councilmember Ames.
Here.
Councilmember Patena.
Here.
Councilmember Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Carlott. Here. Councilmember Leone.
Here.
Council Liaison Jelinek.
Here.
And Council Liaison Pryor.
Here.
Thank you. This is the final call to submit speaker request forms. The speaker request forms can be found in the lobby. Fill them out, give it to the clerk. We'll call upon you at the appropriate time. The first item up is the consent agenda. The consent agenda are all items that are listed with a C. They will be considered in one motion unless a councilman asks for one to be removed. They are no separate discussions because we've talked about these before, or they're very routine. Do we have any requests to remove any items? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Carlott, seconded by Mr. Leone. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. We move to the regular agenda. First item up is 19R, the election of the vice mayor. But before we proceed with that, I want to take a moment. No, we'll do it again. The vice. Thank you. The vice mayor's position is a very important position within the city of Peoria. The vice mayor is asked to fill in anytime I'm unable to attend any function, meeting, or anything else. So if I decide to duck the rubber chicken circuit dinner that night, he gets stuck with it. So I want to thank Tony for his year. He's done an excellent job. And in recognition and sincere appreciation for your dedication and service as vice mayor, I want to award you this plaque.
I'll be very short. Thank you, Mayor, for this opportunity to speak with you. It's been an honor and privilege to serve as a vice mayor. As the mayor said, I've had the opportunity to sit in at lunches, breakfasts, and even dinners, and a lot of chicken dinners on his behalf. So I wish the best of luck to the next vice mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we will proceed with 19R, the election of the vice mayor. We will discuss and take possible action to establish the term length, nominate the candidates, and elect the vice mayor. First of all, I would like any nominations. No, I'm starting with nominate the individuals. Mr. Leone.
And I nominate Ron Ames.
Okay. Ms. Carla?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Bill Patena. And the reason that I'm nominating him is because this is an election year, and almost everybody on this council is up for election except for Mr. Patena and Mr. Edwards. And for that reason, I'm going to also nominate Mr. Edwards for Mayor Pro Tem. Keep politics out of this.
Okay, we'll get to Pro Tem later. And just for clarification, I'm not running for anything either. Any other nominations? Seeing none, I'm going to close the nominations. Establish the term length is normally 1 year. Could I have a motion to make it 1 year?
Second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Carlott, seconded by Mr. Ames. Question, do we vote on the length and then the people, or do we?
Mayor, I'd have you vote on the length, and then the clerk will hand out secret ballots for the council members to write in the candidate of their choice for vice mayor. So first entertain the vote on the length, and if assuming that passes, then the clerk will pass out the ballots, and while those, after they're voted on, the clerk will collect the ballots, and she and I will be the tally committee to count those.
Okay, very well. So the vote right now is to establish the term of the length of vice mayor for 1 year. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. It is a 1-year term. Everyone should have at their place a vice mayor official ballot, right? Please enter the name of the person you want to vote for. The nominees are Ron Ames and Bill Patena. Since they're going to have to go somewhere to count the ballots, I'm going to skip the vice mayor, and I'll come back to it. And next item I want to take is 21R. Normally, it would be a liquor license, Quick Trip 490 Thunderbird Road and Rio Vista Boulevard. They have asked that this be delayed. They have requested item 21R be changed to February 4th, that we will bring this back on February 4th, and we must vote to accept that. Questions or comments? Could I have a motion to postpone 21R until February 4?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Leone, seconded by Ms. Carlett. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Well, might as well proceed. Next item then will be 22R, off-track wagering license renewal. American Greyhound at Gallagher's of Peoria.
Katie Gregory has the staff report on this.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. On this item, all fees have been paid, and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to open the public hearing. This is a public hearing for a off-track wagering license renewal, American Greyhound at Gallagher's of Peoria at 6750 West Peoria Avenue. Would anyone in the audience care to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public comment. Council. Mr. Rivera.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just have a question, Katie. In regards to this item, it seems like this item comes up frequently. Why does it come up so frequently to the council?
I believe Councilman Vice Mayor Rivero is that they do have to come back on a periodic basis to get their license continued.
Okay, why is that?
It's a state requirement, from what I understand. I can get you more information on that if you'd like. I'm not 100% familiar.
Steve, can you respond to that question?
Mayor, Council, yes. Under state law, when you have these licenses, there's a 60-day period. Because it's been noticed for a public hearing, it can be continued with the consent of the applicant and the State Liquor Board, which has been obtained. But because it's a public hearing, we'd have to entertain a motion to continue, approved by the council, to allow for that period. And now there's another part of this question. I think
he was referring to the off-track wagering.
It's the off-track.
Okay.
Why is that up for consideration? It seems like every 2 or 3 months.
Right. The question, Stephen, I know you were coming from the other room. We've moved past that item that you were speaking to, and the question that the Vice Mayor had was with respect to the frequency with which items of off-track wagering seem to come back to the council from specific vendors. Is that
Yes.
correct, Mr.
Yes.
Rivera? Okay.
those are again granted by the State Department of Gaming for a specific period. So when that license expires, it has to come back to us for a recommendation. And state law establishes the period for which those are granted by the Department of Gaming.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, this is 22R, off-track wagering license renewal, American Greyhound at Gallagher's of Peoria at 6750 West Peoria Avenue. Could I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Carlett, seconded by Mr. Patena. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. I'm now going to take you back to 19R, Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor is Ron Ames. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item up would then be 20R, which will be the election of the mayor pro tem, discussion and action to establish the term length, nominate and elect a mayor pro tem to serve during the absence of both the mayor and the vice mayor. Could I have a motion to make it a one-year term?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rivero, seconded by Ms. Carlett. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous for a one-year term. At your seats, you should have, since I find it, you should have a second official ballot for the city of Peoria for Mayor Pro Tem. Could I have nominations?
Mayor, I would like to nominate Councilman Leone.
I'd like to nominate Councilmember John Edwards.
Other nominations? Hearing none, I close the nominations. We'll follow the same procedure as before. Please write the two, are Carlo Leone and John Edwards. Please vote for your nominee, fold it in half, and the clerk will collect it. Awaiting the results, we'll move on. The next item is 23R, public hearing, minor general plan amendment, land use map, Lizard Trails, Pinnacle Peak Road and 99th Avenue.
And Planning Community Development Director Chris Hawkes will present on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to, if I can, present items 23R and 24R together as they pertain to the same piece of property. One's a general plan amendment and the other one's a rezone. And then ask for separate actions at the end. The applicant in this proposal is Lomas Land Company of Arizona. The parcel that they are interested in is a 7.5 acre parcel. It's generally located east of Lake Pleasant. 99th Avenue is along the eastern edge, and it's just due immediately east, if you're familiar with the Wealth Management Office building. It's that parcel just east of that and north of Sunset Ranch Development. So the two requests in front of us are, one's a minor general plan amendment. That's to redesignate the property from its current designation of a state residential, which is 0 to 2 units per acre, to 2 to 5 units per acre. And then the second request is a rezone, to rezone it from its current zoning category of general agricultural to single-family R110. 10 means minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. And what the proposal is for a 23-lot detached single-family development. Okay, contextually, as I mentioned, the site, it's located next to Sunset Ranch 2. The Sunset Ranch 2 development, as you see on the graphic, has been developed by Woodside Homes. My understanding is that this parcel would also be a continuation of the development from Woodside Homes. The Meadows development is located immediately east of the property. We mentioned the Wealth Management to the west, Pinnacle Peak substation across Lake Pleasant. And then if you think about the corner of Pinnacle Peak and Lake Pleasant Parkway, that's a signalized arterial corner intersection. All four corners, although only one corner is developed with a Circle K, all four corners are hard zoned as commercial, intermediate commercial, and designated on the general plan as an office commercial node. So this is the development proposal before you. This graphic illustrates the 23-lot single-family development that I mentioned. The lots, again, are proposed with a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. The density that would result would be 3.03 units per acre, and this would fall right at the midpoint of the proposed land use designation that they're seeking, 2 to 5 units per acre. In terms of open space, they are required to have at least 10% of that in open space, and that's on the western edge of their property. In the retention basin area. The developer is also required to improve their frontage on 99th Avenue. That's the eastern portion. They're required, of course, to includes curb, gutter, sidewalk, street lights, and landscaping. So they would have to improve their portion of the frontage. This graphic illustrates on the left, this is the proposed general plan land use change. and on the right, that illustrates the existing zoning. So if we start first off with the general plan designation, again, 2 to 5 units per acre, and that would match what's located to the south, all the Sunset Ranch 2 parcels that have developed. When you look, again, at the hard corner, I mentioned previously that it was hard zone commercial and on the general plan proposed for office. So while it appears to be designated for state residential, and it is, just understand that the actual zoning in place would support commercial, and we have policies in the general plan that would support the expansion of that area as commercial and office. And so then when you look at the zoning map, again, that illustrates the agricultural zoning that the property is currently placed in, and the agricultural zoning that is to the north of the area, which is undeveloped. Agricultural, as I mentioned maybe in a couple of meetings ago, our zoning ordinance considers it a holding zone, and what that means is it holds land in a less intensive state until development is ripe for the area, and then so basically it holds it in less intense area until we have a development case in front of us. So as you know, as part of the zoning process, we do have a citizen participation process in place. We provide a notice of application that goes based on the size of this parcel to all properties within a 600-foot radius, and we notify all HOAs within a 1-mile radius. Through the course of this project review, the staff has not received any calls, any emails, or any correspondence on the proposal. We do require a neighborhood meeting. That meeting was held July 8th at Sunrise Mountain Library. We did have 3 attendees at that meeting representing 2 separate properties, and I would characterize the questions more as general inquiries as to what would be occurring on that development. The Planning Zoning Commission considered the item at their November 21 meeting. They voted unanimously to recommend approval. At that meeting, there were no speakers in support or opposition to the case. Some of the key findings for the staff. Again, the proposal, the gross density of 3 units per acre would meet the target density of the designation they are proposing. We believe the lot size and the character, it's compatible with adjacent development. The Sunset Ranch 2 development to the south is also zoned R110, 10,000 square foot lots. The Meadows property to the east is a combination of 7,000 square foot lots and larger 12,000 square foot lots. So we think it's in general conformance with the development patterns in the area and is compatible. We also believe it supports appropriate land use transition. I mentioned the hard corner, Lake Pleasant and Pinnacle Peak being a future commercial and office node, and we think this provides appropriate transition and opportunities to walk to services and employment. So with those key findings, staff is recommending that the City Council concur with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation and support a redesignation for the minor general plan amendment from 02 to 2 to 5, and support the rezoning case from agricultural to single-family residential, subject to the conditions in your staff report. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We are going to deal with 23 and 24R in terms of questions. We will be voting on them separately. Questions or comments? Hearing none, could I have a motion on 23R, which is a minor general plan amendment, land use map, Lizard Trails, Pinnacle Peak Road, and 99th Avenue?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Edwards, seconded by Mr. Leone. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. 24R, which is a companion piece, is the rezoning Lizard Trails, Pinnacle Peak Road, and 99th Avenue. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Edwards, seconded by Mr. Ames. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. Again, it was unanimous. Thank you very much. Now return to 20R, the election of Mayor Pro Tem. Results are back. And Mayor Pro Tem is John Edwards. Congratulations. All right. Next item up is 25R, updated land use assumptions and infrastructure improvement plans.
Excuse me, Katie Gregory will do the presentation on this item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening is the first step in the formal adoption steps required for the development impact fee update. And with me tonight, just in case there are any questions, we have
Frank Davis.
Frank Davis, sorry, with Reptalis. I know that. I don't know what that was about. We have Frank Davis with Reptalis, and he's here representing kind of he did the study for the water, wastewater, and water resource fees, and Clancy Mullen with Duncan Associates, who assisted us with developing the non-utility impact fees. So they are here this evening also. Again, it is a public hearing, so this is an opportunity for the public to provide any comment to the council. There is no action needed by council this evening, but it is a requirement of the statute and the new requirements to adopt an infrastructure improvement plan and land use assumptions as part of the development of the impact fees. So really, what does that mean? Tonight, just want to talk a little bit through what's included in your packet. We included a council communication that kind of describes some of the high points, if you will, of the infrastructure improvement plan. But tonight, we'll talk a little bit about some growth projections, service areas, recommendations, and also the projects list is included in your council packet, as well as the projects that we're proposing to include as part of the overall update. So just real quickly, wanted to remind this council, as well as those watching from home, what impact fees are. We do collect impact fees on development as it occurs in the city. It's collected at the time of permit issuance, and it's to help pay for those one-time capital costs for projects needed to serve development as they come into the city. We also calculate those impact fees based upon determining what the proportionate share of costs are to the various land use types that the city has in new development. Real quick, from a definition standpoint, again, land use assumptions are our growth projections. We talked with you about that both on October 15th as well as on December 3rd. Our service areas are, each fee requires an analysis of service areas to ensure that the demand for infrastructure needs is aligned, and there's a substantial nexus existing between the development that's occurring and the needs that are there. And then the infrastructure plan, which you have in your packet, again, like I said, is the specific projects and some of the project costs, and that's a written plan that's now required, or has been required since 2008, I believe, or 2007, but is a requirement of the statute. Some of the fee categories that we include in the impact fee are listed up here. The only thing I really want to say, this isn't unusual. We've been working with these fee categories for a number of years, but one item is that we are looking to discontinue the library fee in this fee update, as we don't have any projects related to a new library or capital project associated with the library in the 10-year program. I shared this with you last time we discussed impact fees, just to kind of give you that big picture of the items in the green-blue there are the main elements for developing an infrastructure and improvements plan and land use assumptions. Again, the land use assumptions were based upon working with all of our development partners and coming to a consensus forecast, if you will, or projections of what some of those development projections are going to look like, both in our residential areas and in all areas of the city. We also looked at the capital needs. It had a lot of input from our stakeholders about some of the capital needs that they believe, and worked with our city engineering department and the other departments in the city, our parks department, or our community services department, to identify what those needs, what we all believe those needs are going to be over the next 10 years to serve development. And again, service areas looking at where is a reasonable and rational place to kind of make some service area boundaries associated with the impact fees. Land use categories we're proposing in the infrastructure improvement plan in the land use assumptions are listed up here. In addition to this, I don't think it came up on this one, but in addition to this, for the water, wastewater, and water resources, it's based on meter size. So depending on what size meter, it determines what the fee is for those particular fee categories. But these are the proposed land use categories. Wanted to just remind you again, we shared this, that where the growth is generally occurring, when we talk about the growth projections in the city, you can see that the north and the central portions of the city are primarily where we see the majority of the growth happening. A number of the major residential developments are listed on the right there. As it relates to commercial centers, we have a number of commercial centers in the city listed there, and the projections include about 12 million square feet of commercial in the southern part of the city and about 4 million in the northern part of the city. So that's generally how the land use assumptions break out between residential and commercial. Again, residential projections are about 1,700 units a year over the 10-year period. What I think is important is that, as we discussed before, it's a little easier in those first 5 years to identify what those projections are going to be. The next 5 start to get a little more difficult. Lots of things change as time goes on. We will be required to do a fee update within 5 years of the adoption of the fees. So the statute does require that we come back and update those fees.
I have a question at that point. If we decide that we wanted to do an update after 3 years, would we again have to, at the 5-year point, do it again?
No, it's no more than 5 years. So as long as we update within, by 5 years, then we would be fine. So. I wanted to talk a little bit about the fee categories. I am going to provide you with some fee information. This is preliminary fee information, and I just want to caveat this with, at this point, we are still sort of finalizing some of those project costs associated with transportation and some of the other fee areas, and so those may change. But generally, this gives you a sense or some idea as far as, and I'm going to show you single-family residential fees. For transportation, we are looking at keeping the 3 zones, the south, central, and north. The difference is moving the south zone up to Deer Valley. And then, of course, because we don't have any projects south of Deer Valley identified as growth-related projects, we would recommend that there is no fee, or we're not showing a fee for south of Deer Valley. So the fees would generally just be in the central and north zone. This kind of gives you a quick look on the right there of some of the projects that are included in the IIP. Again, they're listed in your packet. And some of the fees that the preliminary fees for single-family residential, you can see the current fee and the updated fee. And again, these are still somewhat of a moving target. I would tell you this generally gives you a good sense of where we believe we're going to finalize. We will be bringing forward a finalized draft to all of our stakeholders within the next couple of weeks, but generally this is where we think we're going to be, maybe slightly less.
Just a moment, Mr. Ames.
Yeah, what is that fee? Is that certain size home, or?
This is based on a single-family residential unit. So this is but there are different land use types, obviously. So you have single-family residential. This is just showing you that fee to kind of give you some sense of what the fees are doing.
Regardless of the size, or you're just?
It's regardless of size. It's considered an EDU. So if it's being built as a single-family detached, unit, then it falls under this.
Okay.
Actually,
Thank
I think
you.
attached as well. Anyway, so moving on to water. We talked a little bit with council about the significant needs for water in the northern portion of the city, and we're recommending 2 zones kind of to separate sort of the SRP area from the CAP water service area. We also show on this map the Vistancia CFD area, which is as many of you know, they are providing, through their CFD, a lot of the projects and costs associated with providing water and wastewater services in that area. So those single-family residential fees currently in the north and the south, this kind of represents where those fees are landing.
Yes, go ahead.
Katie, if other CFDs are established, does that change the rates of the surrounding area that is not a CFD?
It would depend upon what they include in their CFD. So if, for example, another CFD is established and they include items that are listed on our infrastructure improvement plan, we would have to look at those because you can't charge them an impact fee and collect the money through a CFD. So you would have to do a different analysis for that. It would trigger a need for another analysis. If they aren't included in our infrastructure improvement plan and there are other types of projects, then they would still be required to pay this fee as well as the CFD assessment.
Thanks.
Wastewater, again, talked about this, about separating it along the Agua Fria River as a natural boundary for wastewater. So we have an east zone and a west zone. And again, the Vistancia CFD, the fees are listed on here for what the current fee is and what we're posing it would be for the west and the east. So the east would serve everything, north to south, east of the Agua Fria River, and the west would be west of that.
I'm going to go back for a second to Ms. Carla's question.
Sure.
If another large developer came in and says, you know, what is it, Saddleback Heights or whatever, and they were a CFD, would that impact the cost of the non-CFD homes? In other words, would it still be 0.239 if you were not in either one of them?
It would, unless they are including in their CFD one of the projects that is part of what makes up this fee, then that project would come out.
I understand that, but would the fact that you're taking pieces out
Right.
because of the CFD, does that impact the updated fee or the
Yes, it could
single-family
trigger
fee for everybody else?
Yes. Yes. Concur with that?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, my map didn't come in. For parks, as we talked about, also we are combining neighborhood and community parks. This is an area where we have multiple service areas being proposed, and that while there is a park identified in the southern part, we're not proposing that we have fees in the southern portion of the city, which is located as Zone 1-1 there. That would have other, that's not Peoria growth driven, that's actually, would be driven more from growth in the county. So we'd use other sources to pay for that.
Go ahead, Ms. Raines.
But you have some dollars here, updated fee, but there isn't a fee for 1.1.
We are not recommending a fee for the south, for that Zone 1-1. Our recommendation would be that we would not have a fee. We have calculated a fee based on that one project that is in there, but we would not recommend that we charge for that because there will be the growth is not in Peoria.
Okay, but the 1.2 you are estimating
1.2,
that.
we would recommend continuing that. For public safety, we look at this as a citywide service area. That's primarily due to the fact that we have an integrated system for patrol, so we have roving patrol cars that serve throughout the entire city, as well as our emergency response through automatic aid to all areas of the city. I'm only showing a couple of projects on the map here, but there is another project, a northern facility in our infrastructure improvement plan, if you look at that. And so, really it's the service area, it being a citywide service area, and then the projects that have been identified as an expansion at Pinnacle Peak and a fire station up at Loop 101 and Lake Pleasant Parkway.
Ms. Carla.
Why did the fee for fire decrease?
Part of that is that there is not that many projects. There's really just the station and then a future station, which currently is sort of earmarked for the Vistancia North area. So those are really the only two projects that are in the IIP currently.
So does that include everything that goes with a new station, such as the trucks, the equipment, the personnel? Not the personnel, right?
Not the personnel, only the capital costs, and it does, I believe, it does include a brush truck and obviously the fire station, the facility, all of that.
Okay. Equipment?
Equipment would be included, the equipment that is operational equipment that they need, that purchase, that capital purchase, that initial capital purchase.
Capital
Replacing
equipment.
that, you could not use, impact fees.
Okay, thank you.
So just real quickly to finalize this, some of the tasks that are remaining for us on this IIP and land use assumptions is that we are finalizing some project cost estimates. We believe we should have that done within this week. We have met with our stakeholders. We actually met with them this morning. We've informed them kind of where we are. We've also need to complete an analysis on a non-residential park fee, which is required as part of the statute. And is not something we've done in the past, but that we are required to do as part of the statute, and that may result in a fee for non-residential uses for parks. And then we would be coming back to you on February 18th with a finalized finalized report and ask you to adopt the infrastructure improvement plan and the land use assumptions at that time. And then we'd come back with a finalized fee ordinance after that. We go through the same process one more time, public hearing and an adoption process with the actual fees.
Bob? Just
Yeah, so we established these fees. Are they reviewed by anyone? They're just the fees we charge, and but we monitor them to show that we indeed are doing this much development.
The fees, I think maybe the best way to show that is with this one, is that again, the fees sort of become, are you talking about the actual fee levels, what we charge?
Yeah.
So the fees are sort of that output, the calculation that comes from adopting what our growth projections are, where our service areas are, and what needs are serving within those service areas, and how you allocate the costs within that service area. And then, so the fees are really the output of that.
Right, I
We
understand
set up
that,
those
yeah.
schedules through an ordinance, so we would come back with a fee ordinance that would outline exactly what the fees are based on land use type. And so anyone coming in to issue a permit, if they're a commercial, an office, or a residential, there would be a schedule of fees that they would be required to pay as part of their permit, their building permit. And so we would charge that, and then we would ensure that we're charging the appropriate amount, for each of those land use types.
So this is a self-process that we do according to the regulations.
Yes, we build it into our permitting system, and so that it's part of one of the fee schedules, just like any other development fee that's charged. Real quickly on the timeline, we are currently here at the public hearing, and like I said, we're going to adopt or bring it forward for adoption on February 18th. Then we'll be back with you on April 1st for a public hearing on the fee ordinance. Same scenario, no council action required, an opportunity for public to provide comment. And then we'll be back for adoption on those fees. That's when we would adopt the actual fees that we would put into the schedule and into the ordinance on May 6th. And the new fees now would be effective July 21st. We do have to have all fees in place by August 1st, otherwise we're not able to collect fees at all. So with that, that's the staff report for the public hearing.
Thank you. With that, I will open the public hearing. This is a public hearing for updated land use assumptions and infrastructure improvement plans. Would anyone in the audience care to address this item? Seeing none, I will then close the public hearing. Questions or comments by the council? Ms. Carlett?
I know that you started off with stakeholder meetings, and I think everybody was sort of panicked, to say the least, and really, not understanding how this was going to progress and how it was going to turn out in the end, and if everything was going to be spoken for, and if everything was going to be included that it should or shouldn't be included. But I have to say, you've done just a tremendous job of including the stakeholders since that time, having multiple meetings and making sure that everybody's voices were heard. I've had some amazing comments back about our process. And just to name a couple of them, Katie has done a hell of a job. Very patient, thorough, and fair. I mean, those are some tremendous statements coming from people who are going to pay us thousands and thousands of dollars to develop in our city. So I think that says a lot about the process and the evolution of bringing something so new and drastic into our city, and something that affects so many people. So I really completely appreciate you including all of our stakeholders and making sure that everybody felt like they had a voice and were heard. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, then there is no action required. We'll move to 26. We will do 26 and 27 together for presentation and for questions. We will vote on the two items separately. 26 is a contract, Nesbitt Construction Incorporated, street and drainage improvements, 91st Avenue. And 27 is contract amendment number 5, Dibble Engineering, street and drainage improvements, 91st Avenue.
And Andy Granger and Dan Nissen will do a good job, or present this. I wanted to say they will do a good job. But before Katie gets away, I wanted to say she has add my voice to those that you heard, Councilmember Carlett, to say that she's done a real good job in doing the public outreach, and we really appreciate that, Katie. Thanks. Now for Andy and Dan to do a good job on this next issue.
Thanks, Carl. Mayor, members of the council, these two items are in regards to our 91st Avenue improvements from Butler to Mountain View. That's in our Curtin Capital Improvement Program, and we have Dan Nissen here, our Assistant City Engineer, to request authorization to move forward with the construction of this project, and he's got a small presentation for you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As you heard, the projects or the two contracts before you this evening are related to the widening and reconstruction of a section of 91st Avenue. 91st Avenue is classified as an arterial street, and this happens to be one of the few arterials in the southern portion of the city that is yet to be widened to accommodate 2 lanes each direction. So the limits for this project extend from approximately 1,000 feet south of Butler Drive to Mountain View Road, just a little over a mile. And the improvements to be included in this project include replacing a section of water line, constructing 2 new sections of storm drain, one section in the south, approximately half mile, located between Butler Drive and Olive Avenue, and the other section located in the north half mile of the project, located approximately between Olive Avenue and Mountain View Road. In addition, the project will include widening 91st Avenue to accommodate 2 lanes each direction, plus bike lanes, a raised landscape median, curb gutter, sidewalk, street lights, and a new traffic signal at the intersection of 91st Avenue and Butler Drive. During our design phase of the project, we conducted public involvement, and as you can see by our slide, we conducted 2 public meetings last year, one in January and the other in July. We had good turnouts for both of those meetings and received some very good public input, which we tried to incorporate as much as we could into the project design. As far as the construction of the project itself, there are 2 components that I want to bring to your attention. One related to the utility companies. The utility companies have been working within the project limits from approximately June of last year, and they plan to be out there until this summer. And as far as the project schedule for the contracts this evening, we have not had a chance to meet with the contractor yet, so we have not developed a detailed schedule. So the schedule we have before you this evening is very general in nature. Shows starting construction spring of this year. Most likely construction will start before the end of February, and construction completing by winter of this year. All construction is planned to be completed prior to the 2015 Super Bowl. Once we do meet with the contractor and develop a detailed schedule, we will share that information with council and with the Office of Communications and the general public. The recommendations this evening are to approve item 26R, construction contract to Nesbitt Construction Incorporated in the amount of approximately $4.5 million, along with a construction contingency in the amount of approximately $450,000, and to approve item 27R, contract amendment to Dibble and Associates for providing construction administration services in the amount of approximately $342,000. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions? Mr. Leone?
I just got a comment. You did a great job on that, and it's come along good, and I'm sure the people are going to be excited about it. Right now, they keep on asking me when it's going to be done, but I says, someday you're going to wake up and you're going to see it there. So thank you. You did a great job on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rivera?
Thank you. Mr. Nissen, Mr. Granger, can you talk about the process and the selection of the Nesbitt Construction Company?
Yes.
And how they rose to the top?
Yes. Working with materials management or procurement section, we prepared a set of bid documents. The project was advertised by materials management. There were, I believe, 7 bidders that actually submitted bids on the project. We opened the bids, and Nesbitt was the lowest and most responsive qualified contractor.
What other construction projects have they completed here in the Valley?
Nesbitt, well, I can tell you for the city of Peoria, Nesbitt last summer completed the construction of 83rd Avenue between Butler Drive and Mountain View Road, which is over by the Pioneer Park. They have also completed widening of the Thunderbird Loop 101 traffic interchange.
And when you talk about they were more responsive, what do you mean by that?
They In regards to the procurement section, they were responsive in that they met all of the bid qualifications. They submitted their bonds, and they submitted their correct proposal, or their bid sheet, I should say.
So the other applications were incomplete?
No, they were complete, but this was the lowest bid.
Okay, this is the lowest bid.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Council, on that, the way that the law in Arizona works is it's both lowest and most responsive. And most responsive is really looking at overall conformance to the bid specifications. It doesn't mean that the other bidders failed to submit something or didn't submit. It's just that it's an analysis done to determine which of these bids was most in conformance with the actual bid documents.
And who defines whether most in conformance?
Most conformance means we look literally at the bid and does each of the items called out for in the bid, how closely it matches the bid documents. Because sometimes bidders, we may call out one specification for one type of pipe in a bid. A bidder may put in a different response than what we call out. And so we literally go through a process, both the engineers and materials management, of where they analyze all of those line items and determine which is the bid that most conforms closely to our specifications. And that is what we are talking about when we're dealing with most responsive. You could have 7 bidders that are all responsive in the sense that they all cover each specification, but some may be more responsive because they more closely match what we call out as the preferred material or the preferred type.
Can you provide an example of that?
What?
Can you provide an example of what you're saying?
An example would be we might require a specified kind of pipe and a specified kind of base, and a bidder may substitute something else in than what we specified in the design criteria. And obviously, we're going to look at each of those bids, and there's a reason that the engineers had something specified in the design criteria. It may be that the bidder called out for a different type of signal base or something like that, where from what we have in the bid criteria. In each of those types of things, they seem small, but each of those are analyzed as part of that responsiveness.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Mr. Ames?
Is this a fixed bid with the contingency, or?
Yes, it is a fixed bid, and the contingency, again, as we talked about with the truck route, is not part of the contract itself. The contingency covers any construction, unforeseen conditions that occur during the construction project.
Unexpected conditions?
Yes, unforeseen conditions.
Can it go over that unexpected contingency?
There's always a possibility depending on what you find, but for the most part, our contingencies for a construction project are around 10%.
Okay. Yeah, that's what this looks like. Okay, good, but you expect it to be the 4,496, 4,496. That's what you expect.
Mayor, members of the council, we will inevitably go into our construction contingency as we do on any project. There will be unforeseen circumstances out there, but we anticipate to stay within that 10% construction contingency. And we did have a similar experience with Nesbitt Construction on our 83rd Avenue project, where we went into the construction contingency, but we didn't go over that construction contingency. And in our experience on a low bid project, if you can stay within a 10% construction contingency, you're doing pretty well on managing your project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, this is 26R Contract Nesbitt Construction Incorporated, Street and Drainage Improvements, 91st Avenue. Please vote. The clerk will record the vote. Oh, I'm sorry, could I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Leone, seconded by Mr. Ames. Now, please vote. The clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Next is 27R, it's the second half of this. Contract Amendment Number 5, Dibble Engineering, Street and Drainage Improvements, 91st Avenue. Could I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Carlett, seconded by Mr. Patena. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Next is 28R, City Council Policy 1-2, City Council Meeting Procedures, texting during City Council meetings.
Mayor, Council, this is being brought back to you as the result of your October 29th, 2013 study session. This really relates to the Open Meetings Act. The Arizona Open Meetings Act was enacted in 1983, at a time before we had such things as smartphones, texting, tablets. We did have computers, but a lot of technology that exists didn't really exist then, but it exists now. And the intent of this amendment to the City Council policy would be to prohibit all participants of an executive session from texting while in the executive session, and would prohibit council members from texting from the dais. Recently, I had an opportunity to send to each of you and to the senior staff a article out of the Orange County Sentinel, which I think very clearly explains the reason for this. Some supervisors for Orange County were texting from the dais, and there was a Florida Open Meetings Law complaint, whereupon, for whatever reason, those same supervisors decided they should delete their text messages. Whereupon now there's an attorney general investigation and appearances in front of a grand jury. That is exactly the type of thing that this is designed to avoid, and really set forth that input needs to come through in an open meeting by the public in a way that all of the public can hear, and not through text or tablets or email or other types of things where the public isn't able to participate. And this policy is really in conjunction, and it really fulfills the requirements of the Arizona Open Meetings Act. And with that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions? Mr. Rivera.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Kemp, as I recall, you attended a conference in San Francisco, and this is how
Yes.
when did you attend the conference?
I attended this conference in October of 2013.
Okay. 3 months have passed. Why is there such an importance to put this on?
I think it's such an important thing because this is becoming a problem across the country. Not only do you have the Orange County case, but you have cases in Illinois, you have cases on the East Coast, you have cases in a number of different places where there have been open meeting law issues involving the use of texting, emails, and electronic communication during open meetings. And I think it's an important thing from a lawyer standpoint in that we don't, as your lawyer, I would not want to see this council subjected to those kinds of complaints and the expense and the problems that they create. And that's why after I came back from that conference, I recommended this issue to the mayor as an issue that I thought the council should address, and that's what led to the study session.
Okay. Are any other cities in the valley, any other city attorneys recommending what you're recommending?
Actually, yes, I've been invited by the city manager for the city of Cave Creek to appear before their council next month and talk to them because they wish to consider the same thing. A number of other cities are very aware of this. This was also featured recently in the Republic.
But I'm talking about city attorneys.
Yes, by the Republic in terms of other cities looking at this.
Okay, no, but my question was, are any other city attorneys asking you about this
Oh,
policy?
have other city attorneys? Yes. We have participated in listserv, and both cities and city attorneys have discussed this issue extensively.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Mr. Ames.
Yeah, thank you for your text here, Steve, but just joking. I think this is an excellent idea. It's clear, you know, that we shouldn't be doing this, and we see it as a definite statement, so there's no confusion.
Thank you.
I agree. We're better off to be ahead of the curve. This is 28R, City Council Policy 1-2, City Council Meeting Procedures, texting during City Council meetings. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ames, second by Mr. Edwards. Please vote. The clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Next is 29R, Public Art Pioneer Community Park.
This item will be presented by John Sefton and Kirk Haynes.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. This next item for your action and consideration is public art at the Pioneer Community Park, and Parks Manager Kirk Haynes has prepared the presentation and will lead the discussion.
John, thank you very much. When I started this a long time ago, I didn't need these glasses, but I've grown accustomed to wearing these. So, Your Honor and members of City Council, first I'd like to thank you for your remembrance of Joe McCord at the beginning of tonight's meeting. He is a dear friend and will be missed in our Veterans Memorial Board. I'm back tonight to discuss the Pioneer Public Art Project. And about a year ago, we brought this forward for a little bit of discussion and some direction from council in a city manager's report, just to get some feedback and some dialect going about the public art for Pioneer Park. Tonight, I'd like to introduce some members of our Arts Commission that are here tonight, and off to my right. First of all, our chair, Liz Gordon, and commission members that are present tonight, M.J. Johnson, Robert Panzer, Pamela Potter, and our arts coordinator, Andre Liccardi. As I mentioned, last year we came back and talked about this, and we received some feedback from council at that time to go back and look at gaining more public input into the process and bringing back more than one recommendation. And you'll see a little bit of the timeline that we established to work on some of the items to bring that forward. As I mentioned, during March there were 2 recommendations to seek more public input and to bring back more than one recommendation. Therefore, we set our sails out, and in September we came back to council to verify and receive some clarification on the direction. At that time, we had invested quite a bit of time in trying to select the top artists for the project, and we had recommended to continue to consider those 4 public art artists for the project and then incorporate the public input program. So at that time, we identified that we would set up a web page as identified on the screen. The PeoriaAZ.gov Public Art Input website was launched, and we started to receive some comments and feedbacks from some of the residents. There's a handout that was given to the council that identified some of the comments that were received at that time. In addition, we also sent out a number of postcards to approximately, or exactly, 5,149 residents within a quarter-mile radius of Pioneer Pioneer Park. Now, obviously, there aren't that many people that live within that particular radius of the park, but there is a mailing direction that we use, and that is how many were distributed to that group. We also launched the web page that identified the 4 artists' work, and it brought together the different work with a 5-minute video that explained how the artists came up with their work. The same thing, the same information that was received by the committee that had made the previous recommendation. They were allowed to present that in their 5-minute video, and anyone that went online had an opportunity to review those level of details of their public art projects. You're all familiar with Pioneer Public Park. It was opened and launched back in September, and we have a beautiful site out there and a wonderful opportunity to present our public art project. As I'd mentioned, there were surveys that were received from comments that came in from our citizens. We received 13 specific comments from different residents after the mailer. We asked them to go to the website. We also received additional citizen feedback during the Arts Commission meeting. We had 3 citizens attend that meeting. And also, we received some general comment and feedback when we had our public art dedication back on November 2nd during the rededication of the Historical Society. So based on all that information, the Arts Commission took all of the data.
Yeah, I have a question. What happened to those postcards, those 5,000 postcards?
Those were sent to the area residents that surrounded the Pioneer Park area. So we tried to focus attention.
Did you ask them to give input, or?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I don't see those results here. I just see the 13.
This is what we asked. We identified that the information, we were going to have a public meeting. We're going to have a public meeting at the Arts Commission meeting, and they could attend at that. They could also visit the website and provide comment about the public art. At that time, that was the level of citizen comment and feedback that we received. The 3 that attended the public meeting, the Arts Commission meeting, and the 13 responses that took the survey online. So that
Okay,
was
so
the limitation.
Yeah, that's a very small number. I think we need another approach here, and I have some good ideas, and I can talk to Bo about them. We really need to create a panel of interested people, and we categorize them by age, gender, and where they live, so it's representative across the city, and they make a commitment, and we can do that, because this doesn't really tell me anything. You may have sent out 5,000, but if you only get 13 people.
We were...
Just a second here. If you would, we'll come back to this. Would you please
Okay.
finish your presentation?
Sure. Based on the comments that we received at the public meeting, with the comments that were given by citizens that attended the public art dedication ceremony and had an opportunity to talk with our Arts Commission members and express their thoughts or ideas and recommendations, what they liked or didn't like. Based on all of that, all of those suggestions, and looking at the surveys that were received, the 13, staff reviewed those carefully, and this was an assessment of what we felt were the recommendations that came forward as far as positive, supporting, negative. And you saw, if you had an opportunity to read the correspondence, there were a variety of comments there. Based on all of that input, the Arts Commission took those recommendations, took the public input, and is making a recommendation to move forward with the Thomas Sayer piece. Now, at the same time, Council directed us to bring back more than one public art piece. And as they reviewed the comments and the information that they had at hand, they didn't feel comfortable just bringing one artist back as a recommendation. They are suggesting that all 4 come back because they all have strong art characteristics in their own unique way, and they didn't feel like excluding an individual artist. And those artists are, the recommendation is for Thomas Sayer with the wheel concept that was brought forward approximately a year ago. This is the art concept that was created by Frank Swanson from Littleton, Colorado, and more of an interactive piece. Another interactive piece, Madeline Weiner from Denver, Colorado, more in the baseball type of theme, a sitting area. And finally, more of copper, pounded copper, abstract of the tiers and pillars. So based on what guidance we received back in September to move forward with the 4 artists and all the input, the Arts Commission is recommending, and staff is recommending, to move forward with the Thomas Sayer piece. So with
Which was the wheels.
which was the wheels concept. Those are all posted on the webpage. They're still up there. The videos are still there, identifying how they came up with their concept and ideas, and it is still posted on the website at this time.
No, you can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was hoping, for a larger, more representative number of people. I read through the comments of the 13. Basically, and we saw the numbers there, 2/3 kind of didn't like any of them, right? and you really had a tie, if you want to go by your ratings, between Thomas Sayer and you're using the names here, but and Slater, I guess, right? It was pretty much a tie on these 13 people.
Based on the surveys,
the
that's
comments,
correct.
but when you
Based
read
on
the
the
comments,
comments that we received from the Arts Commission meeting and the citizens that were there, the 3 representatives from the public that came in, and from the comments that we received during the public art dedication, there was more overwhelming support of the Thomas Sayer piece at that time that said this really makes sense. It ties or links to the theme of Pioneer Park. and that understanding why the theme was put together, there was additional support beyond just the survey in and of itself.
Ms. Scarlett.
Thank you. First of all, I'm really pleased with how much public input you sought. You might have received a little bit less than you sought, but my goodness, sending out 5,100 postcards is a tremendous amount, especially in a targeted area. A lot of people are not attuned or that interested in art. The ones who are interested came forward and they gave some very detailed comments. And I appreciate that we sought those and received them. I also appreciate that we have an arts commission, and that group is made up of a cross-section of our city. They are appointed to that position because they chose to be appointed to it. They care about art, they care about the city, they care about helping to make these kinds of decisions. They did everything that we asked them to do. And the response that came back from our arts commission is the Thomas Sayer piece. I would like to support our Arts Commission, support the public input that we received, and support this entire process, and give you all accolades for what you've all been through and what you produced and the results that you came back to us with. So thank you very, very much for everything that you did. You've substantiated your first findings, and we appreciate that. And for that reason, I would like to support this piece.
Is that a motion?
I would like to make a motion to support the Thomas Sayer piece.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
No, I would like to still discuss.
We will as soon as I get a second. Just relax. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Go ahead, Mr. Ames.
I see this as a starting point, but I think we can do better in getting more input. And I have a strong background in survey research, and you could have sent out 20,000 and maybe you'd have only gotten 20 people. They have to be directed and done in a certain kind of way, not just kind of, a blurb, a statement. People get thousands of those every day, and there's a way we can get a more representative group. I support the Arts Commission too. I think they do a good job, but my concern is we want citizens to really like the art that we do. And, not everyone's going to agree on the art, but I think it could have been a different one that maybe would have been more appealing to citizens. But I think we're at this point now, and I will support the one the Arts Commission chose as well at this point. But I do want to talk further about the future, how we look at these, and I can meet with you guys, and I'd like to bring Bo in and how we might do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? I have one quick one. I agree. You did the outreach. If people aren't interested, people aren't interested. You can't beat them over the head and drag them down there and say, pick one. Those who have the background, who have the schooling and the education, and obviously the interest and the passion, have made the recommendation, and that is our Arts Commission. I thank you for all your work. I know it's not easy, and I'm sorry we're second-guessing you. With that, it's been moved to select the Thomas Sayer piece, which is the wheels. Please vote. Clerk will record the vote. It is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is the call to the public on non-agenda items. I have no requests to speak. And reports from the city manager.
The only item I have this evening, Mayor and Council, is the standard report of your items coming from Council Policy Subcommittees. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Next up, then, is reports from the City Council. Mr. Gilney.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me get my notes here. First thing I want to say is that happy holidays, and I'm glad everybody is back in one piece. I can see the city council here with grins in their face, so they must have got a lot of good gifts for Christmas. I didn't get anything because I was a bad boy. But anyway, on December the 16th, I went to a volunteer holiday party at the Challenger, and it was great. They gave out a lot of awards, and there was a lot of people there that volunteered ever since the place was open, and I want to say again, I wish them lots of luck. On December the 18th, I went to a retirement party for 2 police officers, Rocky Smith and Saunders, who retired, and Saunders, I understand, is going to Buckeye, and I wish him lots of luck, and Rocky is just going to relax and go back to Chicago in that snow. So I want to wish him a lot of luck also. The other thing I want to mention I went to a Peoria Park for the fishing, the opening day, and it was just great. There was about, I have to say, maybe 200, maybe plus, and I've talked to about 25, 30 people, and would you believe there was only about 4 or 5 of them that lived in Peoria. All the other ones I talked to lived in West Valley. Surprise, Almirage, Goodyear, Glendale, and Phoenix. And I talked to a family there from Ohio. So he didn't come from Ohio to go fishing out here. It was great. They caught a lot of fish. I guess you can only catch 4 fishes there. And I got a lot of good compliments from not only Pioneer Park, but Rio Vista, that they keep it nice and clean in the water, and all the baseball fields is up to date, and they're really happy about it. The last thing I want to say is that every first Thursday of the month, Fresh Start Church on 83rd Avenue, and I mentioned it before, you can go down there and get all the fruit and vegetables you want, and it's just great that they have all this stuff to give out, and they get it from St. Mary. So if you're looking for fruit and vegetables and bread and pastry, go down to the first Thursday of the month. And every Saturday at Park West Organic Market from 9 to 2, they have a lot of things going on there. They have food vendors, fun for the kids, activity, book free exchange, and music. So if you want to get some good fruits and vegetables, there's another place to go. But over here, you got to pay. Thank you. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Thomas? I should have started with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, no report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Carlin?
Thank you. I would like to just take a minute and talk about Joe McCord. He was a great friend to the city of Peoria, and we lost him on January 1st. Wow. I'm just going to read this. Joe McCord has been sitting in that first row at just about every council meeting for as long as I can remember, representing the community of Ventana Lakes. He was also my council liaison when Ventana Lakes was in the Mesquite District, and that was about 8 years. We met every single month to talk about the needs of his community. He was a good man, and he cared enough to get involved. He served on multiple boards within the city. He also served on the Peoria Unified School District Board as a board member. I think he was in his 2nd term there. And in his spare time, he was Joe the science guy who taught kids at the Challenger Space Center. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his wife, Mary Lynn, and all of Joe's family. And if you would like to pay your respects, a memorial service is scheduled at the Ventana Lakes Yacht Club next Saturday, January 11th at 11 a.m., and that is at Beardsley and 109th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy New Year to everybody. Very busy month in December. So many numerous events that I was able to partake in. I just want to first off congratulate the fire department, the police department, the city staff. I participated in so many different charity events, Shop with the Cop, annual toy drive with the fire department, going out and passing out toys at the local schools and also the houses. Helped out on Christmas Eve with Joe Manning and Mike Faith. They found another 600 toys at a charity, couldn't find homes for the toys. They got a call at the last minute at 2 o'clock on Christmas Eve saying, we've got 600 toys. Do you know somebody that can use them? Immediately called us. We went into some needy areas and passed out additional 600 toys that would have gone unclaimed for Christmas. So again, I just want to commend the police department, the fire department for their extraordinary service and outreach to the community. It means so much to them, and I want to thank you for myself. New Year brought my annual tradition. I again attended the polar plunge this year and did partake. And with Mr. Seffin, we actually initiated the jump. And it wasn't as cold as last year, but it was still cold. I believe it was 50 degrees. And there was over 100 people in attendance. So again, I want to congratulate staff for showing up. On that day, I also attended, like Mr. Leone, the Pioneer Park fishing. And there was about 200 people out there fishing. The attendance was just extraordinary. And I watched a little 8-year-old girl pull in about a 2-pound fish and reeled it in. And as soon as she got close to her, she got scared. It dropped. Her dad was lucky enough to be able to reach in and grab it and take some pictures. And then, they were taking it home to eat. And lastly, talked a lot about fire and police, but again, I want to reach out to the fire department, and I know we have some fire representative here. I want to congratulate the fire department on earning the premier EMS status from the Arizona Department of Health Services. This is an extraordinary distinction. This means that your department has proven the dedication to improving and caring to provide for patients the quality assurance performance measures that have assured 4 key measurements. Circumstances including major trauma, acute strokes, and ST segment evaluation. This is a testament to your department in going the extra mile and achieving this goal for the city of Peoria and its residents. So I know that Chief Ruiz is not here, but Stacy, if you could please pass on my congratulations to him and to your staff. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and like everyone else has said, welcome back to a Happy New Year. I just want to, one thing, congratulations to the Peoria Student Broadcasting Network, otherwise known as PSBN. Students at Centennial High School and their media productions teacher, Mr. Ken Keene, they recently won a New Tech Smart Car production vehicle in a national contest by creating an award-winning video demonstrating that they are the best innovative media program in the nation. So that's kind of a big step for them, and just want to extend congratulations to them.
Mr. Ames.
Yes, I've been busy like the others, and I got a call from a friend in New York, and we made one of the New York crossword puzzles. City of Peoria did. The question was, what city in Arizona is now twice the size of its namesake in the Midwest? And he said, Ron, I knew it right away. And that's Peoria, so I guess we're moving on up in the big city. Happy New Year to everyone, and we look forward to working with all the citizens in our districts and citizens in the city to make this a great and better city.
Thank you. Mr. Patena.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to offer my condolences to the McCord family. He was an active member of the Peoria School Board. He was an advocate for all students, and he was essentially the city's connection to the school district, and sat here just about every council meeting, and he will be missed.
Thank you. Mr. Rivera.
Thank you. As it was mentioned earlier during the meeting, we are beginning an election year, and because of that, I think council should focus on addressing an important topic that has been in the queue for 2 years, and I'm talking about the ethics process. And because it's an election year, I'm going to be submitting an item in the city clerk's office for consideration of the council, so that we tackle this issue once and for all. Last thing we want is politicization of the process when we have 3 council members possibly up for re-election. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to extend my condolences to the family of Joe McCord. He was also a Korean War veteran. That was one of the things that wasn't mentioned. The only other thing I want to mention from the holidays is that I was really surprised at the poor attendance we had for the Wounded Warriors. The Wounded Warriors softball team came in and played the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. these guys were amazing. Every one of them was a veteran, either from Afghanistan or from Iraq. Most of them were missing a minimum of one limb somewhere. Several of them were missing two. One guy hit a home run. He had two artificial legs. He hit it over the head of the person in left field. He made it to first with no trouble and the second with no trouble. He rounded third and kind of lost it. And he stumbled and tumbled and literally did flips until he crossed home plate. It was just an amazing thing. They'll be back next December, and I will make sure that I make you aware of that. And with that, Happy New Year. Thank you, and good night. We're adjourned.